So
the cover.
check in the post. It's about 10 grand. Is that all right?
Okay, can I PayPal you?
Yeah. 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 No
Oh
worries.
wait,
No
we're
worries.
live. We're live.
Shit.
We're live.
Sorry, man.
We'll talk about
Jesus.
getting on the cover of Jazzwise later. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Quarantine Zone. We're live on
When
YouTube,
is that?
Twitter, Facebook, Tinder, Bumble, Strava.
What?
Any others?
I don't use any of those.
Hey man, you do use Strava. You do use
I
Strava.
did. I did use it. I'm kind of, you know what? I feel bad because I went mad for running in lockdown.
Yeah,
I've been running for years, and I actually always did like 10Ks and things. But I actually started getting so into it. I think we were all going completely mad, weren't we?
yeah,
Needed a bit of physical release to kind of just get out of the house and stuff. And yeah, I loved it. I mean, I was doing like I literally did a couple of I did 3 half marathon runs. Kind of just, I've never done that in my life,
yeah.
and got pretty good. And then now, my Achilles on my left ankle is pretty knackered. The right knee's complaining, so I'm laying off the running a little bit at the moment.
Yeah, yeah. Man,
But
but you're absolutely right. It is really, really good for sanity maintenance. I
oh
was kind of totally losing it. Well, I wasn't
man,
losing it, but you're feeling like, oh my God, I need to get
yeah,
out. Just go and run really fast. Well, not even really fast, but you
just a release,
expel
man.
that energy. Exactly.
Exactly. And I mean, I think this is, and I think when we're all doing our stuff, even now, something like that, just get yourself out the house, go for a walk, go for a cycle, run, whatever you do.
Yeah,
Big
yeah.
benefits from that.
I know my dad is watching. I can see on the list of people, and I know he very much would approve of a balanced lifestyle and exercise. So far this is going great. I'm sure he really approves. Um,
Totally, man.
yeah. So hey, folks. So the way that I know Mike is on Strava is because, well, just in case anyone doesn't know, Strava is a running app where it basically works out how far you've run and how fast and stuff. But there's a London jazz musicians
It's
like
true.
group, right? And I wouldn't have thought there was much overlap, honestly, between like, the late night drinking, hanging out, whatever, with like, healthy runny kind of people.
Oh,
Um,
there's lots.
but there is,
I
yeah.
Ivo Neem. Ivo
I
Neem,
vote
man.
Dave Mannington.
Wow.
Dave
Yeah.
Mannington's probably the fastest, right?
He's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Truly ridiculous.
He did a half in something like 1 hour 20 recently, which I don't know.
Ouch.
Yeah, I
My
think
best time is 1 hour 45,
that's
and
quick, man.
I felt pretty roasted after that. I can tell
I'm
you
gonna
that. But
check. I'm gonna check my quick. I think you're quicker than me, man. I'll check it when we play our video, which
yeah,
we'll
yeah.
talk
Do
about in a
it. Do
bit.
it. Well, yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
So, folks, in case you don't know Mike Flynn, if you're, listening to and checking out jazz stuff, you will be aware of Mike because Mike writes for Jazzwise, but he's also, or rather, you write, you edit, you put to, do
I'm
sort of,
the basically I'm the boss. Apart from the big boss,
yeah,
I'm the editor, and I have been for
amazing.
getting on for 7 years now. So
Wow, I'm sorry that I didn't
yeah.
know that.
Well,
I know that
I,
you're
I
the
I
guy.
don't like to kind of go on about it too much. I feel like
People will
you know
hassle you if you do.
well, yeah, and also the magazine is kind of the magazine's bigger than anybody that writes for it or edits it. It's
Sure.
become its own thing, and it really is a great thing, and it does a lot of great work to support jazz right across the board. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I've written about music for, well, best part of 20 years now, and done all sorts of stuff, which we can definitely talk a bit more about later on.
Yeah, yeah. But you're also a fine bass player, and
Oh, thank you,
you
man.
worked on a large number of projects, and we've got some of the covers, the EP and album covers to share with people. Um, but yeah, why don't we start? Why don't we talk a little bit about Unfurl and that kind of what
Yeah,
that came about,
I
and then we
mean,
can play the video.
it is sort of like, I don't want to say it's a typical lockdown thing, because actually I've been playing bass for a long time. I play jazz to the best of my ability, but I also like lots of different other types of music. I've played in funk bands, world music bands,
Mm.
done all sorts. I even did a little uh, mini opera when I used to live down in Brighton. I did like a little
Wow.
mini opera thing, reading the dots. So I really, and I have a very open mind when it comes to music, which I think is good. And I think a lot of other jazz musicians actually have a very open mind when it comes to music. And so Unfurl is part of a 4-track EP that I've put together. I started recording them maybe about a year ago, and bit by bit, it sort of came together. And the nice thing was is that I actually the first person I asked to do something, because we none of us were gigging, we were all a bit bored, we are kind of going a bit stir crazy, and I actually asked
Yeah.
Alina Bazinska, the harpist,
Yeah.
who I'd got to know in 2019, and really liked her music, loved her attitude and her approach to things, and actually went to a Christmas party at her flat in North London, and she was playing like Chopin and all sorts of stuff on the harp,
Wow.
and I was really blown away.
Hmm.
And she's an excellent person, amazing, top class musician. So I said, "Well, do you want to do a track?" And she was getting into the whole jazz electronica sort of thing, and she does a solo show with effects and loop pedal and
Oh,
stuff.
wow.
And she's done some great gigs with that.
That's cool.
She's done London Jazz Festival, things like that. Anyway, I just said, would you be up for it? So I sent her a track that I'd kind of semi put together. She sent something back. I said, I really want some trumpet on it. So she said, why don't you ask Jay Phelps? And I said, I know Jay, we're old mates. So I sent him a couple of tracks, and then he said, well, I need you to record on a couple of my tracks. So we kind of did a little swap.
Perfect.
So I played on his EP, he played on my EP, and then it's just like one thing led to another. And then this track with your good self, I mean, again, I was just finding my way with some of the stuff, which I'll tell you a little bit more about the production process afterwards. But I mean, you just messaged me and said, I love that, I want to play on it. And so I was like, right, Anne wants to play on something, I better send him something good. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And then I mean, we'll play the track, but then I'll tell you a little bit more about what's happened to it since, because it's a lovely thing when someone like you, who's fabulous player, kind of gets in touch, says let's do something, and you think, okay, well, what's the end result going to be? And
Mm.
that's the thing that I thought, this has to be good, it has to be pushed to a much higher level than just some little Bandcamp sort of jam. It has to be better. And hopefully, I think the end result is better than what it could have been, and I
Yeah.
think it's definitely in a good place in terms of the sounds, the production, the playing and everything. So
Absolutely,
you
man.
know,
Hey, well, this is one of these things where it's really been a bit of a luxury for me, because I think I listened a few times through the track as it was before I'd done anything, and then just recorded like 4 or 5 passes, right, with loads of
mm,
different sounds. And then I was like,
yeah,
here you go. And then you were just like, had your wicked way with it, and did some mixing with Andy and co. And then, and then I just heard it. Actually, the first time I listened to it again, I hadn't listened in a couple of months, was just today. And it was
yeah,
like wicked. Yeah, really liked it. So just a little bit more on the EP. So there's one
yeah.
track featuring Alina and Jay, and then
That's right. And then
we're on this one.
the,
What about the other pieces?
yeah.
Are they collabs
So
or?
there's another one with I'm a big fan of Rebecca Nash, a great keyboard
Mm,
player. I think
mm,
she just moved to Birmingham, but she was in Bristol, and I really loved her album that came out called Peaceful King, and it sort of ticks all the boxes for me in terms of, there's a lot of melodies on there, some great sophisticated harmonies and things, but
mm,
there's a compositional vision that I really respond to, and I love that
mm.
when I hear an artist that they're not only a great player, but they actually can really write, and they really have their own vision of something, and it's not easy to do. And I think this is, but these are the people I respond to. And again, I met Rebecca at a gig. I saw her album launch at London Jazz Festival 2019, and we were in touch on email and stuff. And then again in the lockdown, I was like, look, I want to do a track. I've got this track, I've kind of got it to a certain point, would you put some keys on it? So she's like, absolutely. She's did that. And then a lovely thing happened where the brilliant Nick Walters, who's a trumpet player I've been a fan of for a long time, killing player, done stuff with like Beats and Pieces big band, done loads of session work for like Katie B, done all these kind of pop things and pretty high profile stuff, but then he's doing his own label in I think in Bristol. It's called Dot Time, or was it? No, sorry, that's another label.
That's
Dot
different.
Music. Dot
Yeah,
Music.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a great label. And Nick and Rebecca are doing an album, and they needed some bass. And they said, "Would you do a track?" So I did a track with them, and then I sent this track that Rebecca had played on to Nick, and I just said, "Look, man, if you got any time, I would love some of your playing on this." And I just left it with him, and it was about 2 or 3 weeks later, and it came back with like 6 different trumpet harmonies on. He doubled the
Wow.
melody, put on some extra ad libs and stuff. It was all, gold. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
So that's a track called Early Bloomer, which has really sort of turned into this sort of synth funk prog jazz thing that people hear at some point soon. I'll tell you about the kind of release schedule with all these things.
Okay, cool.
Um,
Shall we give people a little sneak peek of the EP cover?
Go. Yes.
Hopefully, I've got the right one here.
This is the yeah. This is the this is actually going to be the single cover. So
Okay.
this track is going to come out as I've done the decent thing and I've done a radio edit.
Yeah.
So it's the kind of like this is the kind of no bass solo. Nobody wants a big bass
Oh,
solo.
Mike. By the way, I love the way the full version begins with quite a lot of bass soloing,
It's a
obviously.
big bass solo. Well, I'm always like, you know what it's like. You're recording yourself. You think, do I put something on there? This is a bit
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, you
And I
do.
thought, you know what? Rather than sneak it away in the sort of
Nah,
like
nah. Don't take
couple
that
minutes,
in,
let's
man.
just go.
Hit
Let's
the ground
go.
running. Yeah, yeah. Great.
So anyway, so basically, this single is going to come out across all different platforms on the 8th of June, and we're going to do like a 2-track single. So there'll be the radio edit and there'll be the full version.
Yeah.
So you can fully immerse yourself in it. And I think the thing with this project is that these tracks are as they are on the recordings, but if we were to play this live, it would probably be completely different. So this is the
Mm.
beautiful thing with the setup that I have is that you can, we could just spontaneously create a new version of this track every single night,
Yeah.
and that's what I've tried to do on the track is bring in on your solo in the middle is really have a bit of a breakdown, a bit of improv, and a bit of things going a bit weird,
It's
but then
really
kind of
cool, man. So many different
yeah,
textures. Yeah. I remember if folks follow Mike on Instagram, Mike Flynn, Flynn. And you
yeah.
can see he's basically your studio is like a cockpit with like thousands of flashing lights, all these different modules and stuff.
When
And
it
I assume they are what generate a lot of the wonderful sounds that
well,
people are going to hear.
that's true. I actually want to but this is the mad thing. So I've got one of these boxes. Okay, this is called the Electron
Mm,
Digitech.
wicked.
Okay, and basically what this is an 8-track sampler, and so you can literally plug any instrument or your voice or whatever it is you want to sample into it, and then you've got 8 tracks across the front here, and there's various ways and means to chop and edit them,
Mm,
and then you've got 8 MIDI tracks, so you can actually potentially run 8 keyboards off this thing as well. It's
wow.
crazy.
Yeah.
So actually, the whole of this track that began in that box,
Yeah.
because I think one of the problems people have with computers and Ableton Live and this stuff, it's so easy just to grab a sample and loop it,
Yeah.
and then basically, just have these very generic sounding things. And I always wanted to really just program the drums from the ground up, find
Start
the
from scratch.
sounds, tweak them, yeah, and completely. So every beat is kind of like tweaked and deliberately placed in a timeline, in a score effectively, but in a box, and it's that tactile thing of making something that's
More gear. Yeah.
exactly. I mean, this is the thing. I'm my studio does look pretty like crazy, but it's actually very kind of like it's 2 boxes. It's my computer. It's that sort of stuff. This sort of music making does tend to encourage bright, flashy lights and funny gizmo things, and it looks more complicated than it is, I think. But the good thing with the whole, I did a whole set of music in this Digitat box. I actually just did track after track after track, and it was a
Mm,
wonderful thing to do in lockdown because I was learning loads of new stuff. And actually then when you take that back into the computer, the great thing with this is you can stream 8 tracks of audio, so it's not just one stereo file, it's 8 different tracks, and so that is perfect for mixing.
mm.
Um, and I must, at this point, give a massive shout out to Chris Sharkey, who I'm sure
Oh, I
you
said
and
Andy. I'm sorry, I said Andy, but
don't
I
worry,
meant
don't worry,
Chris because there's a bass
yeah, yeah,
player called Andy Sharp. So I'm in bass mode when I'm talking to you. I'm trying to convert everything into bassists. Do you know what I mean?
bass bass
The low
bass
frequency
conversion.
version. Yeah, sorry, but Chris
No,
Sharkey.
Chris Sharkey,
Yes.
Chris and I have known each other for a long time, and I've always loved what he's done. He's a real. I mean, the word maverick is a little bit too dismissive. He's more than that. He's a bit of a genius.
Mm,
Amazing guitar player,
yeah,
just a
no
great
doubt.
conceptualist, and just such a great imagination. And but also technically he's on top of everything. And then Ableton is just like he's turning into a demon of a mix engineer, and I highly recommend him if you're sort of thinking,
Maybe I'll
you know,
chuck something his way.
you should. He's really really great. And so this was the lovely partnership that we had when bringing all these tracks together, was actually that Chris had a kind of, I went to him with one concept in terms of the mix, and then he came back with his take on it, and I was like, you know what, I love that. And he brought a real beefy kind of meaty sort of edge to it, added in a bit of fuzz and a bit of grunge and some real punch. And so actually if you put this track on big speakers or something, it's going to like, sort of, you know,
It's
shake the
big.
wall.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
big.
it sounds
Let's
mental. So
yeah, let's go to
should
it.
we play it?
Yeah,
Let's play it.
here you
Do
go.
it.
This is Unfurl by Mike. I always get the direction wrong.
And
By Mike Flynn,
and
featuring
and
Unfurl.
nice.
Yeah, beautiful, man.
Awesome.
3 tracks in one, we were just saying.
I've sort of. Can you see me? All right? I've just sort of frozen at my end. I hope my
Oh,
connection's
I can
okay.
see you fine. Yeah, don't worry.
Good, good, good.
Sometimes,
Okay.
yeah, what happens? I'll tell you later. Yeah, it's not interesting
Yeah, no, no
for the
worries, man.
viewers.
No worries. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, that track is kind of it is it's like a triptych of stuff, and it's kind of yeah. I just like you say, you gave me the parts. And then it's kind of up to me to really then
Yeah,
start to build this
do the
thing,
hard work.
and start to and the nice thing was though, I mean, I don't know about you, but if I'm recording at home, I try and be quite strict with myself and just say one or two takes. If it's not happening, forget it. I'll come back to it. So
Man,
that
I'm the opposite, man. Seriously,
okay, okay.
sometimes I've got to like up to like 25 and then, and
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. And you know what, man?
well,
Sorry, with one of, do you know the one I did with Hadrian Farod and those chaps? Um,
yeah.
I did that. I did a whole day on that, and I got like 25 or so.
Wow.
And then I chucked it because it was all guff. And then the
Right.
next,
Wow.
maybe a couple of days later, I came. But sometimes there's something like the sound was wrong, and I just
Yeah.
been trying to
Totally.
work with the sound. Whereas actually, if you need to step, it's like you were saying, 2 takes, then judge it. But I wasn't
Exactly.
judging. I was just like, why isn't it working? It must be what I'm playing. But it was a
And
sonic
try and
thing.
do exactly. And and actually on the video where we've got the funny kind of breakdown middle bit and then the sort of chordy stuff at the end. I mean, that was all one take actually in terms of the
Really,
bass.
I
Yeah.
was
So
wondering because it's all these extended techniques. You always wonder if it was like a mime or something after the
well, this
fact.
is it.
But
I mean,
good
and that
skills,
is
man.
that is literally, and I had all my pedals set up under the desk. I couldn't sort of film them as well,
Yeah.
but that the kind of the bass, the synth bass is actually the Meris Enzo pedal,
Oh,
which is
wicked.
a wicked pedal,
Yeah.
and yeah, it just tracks unbelievably well. And actually, if you set the kind of just go for the mono thing but down an octave, it is
Mm,
super fat, and it is a proper wave. I think it's like a saw wave or something.
yeah.
So it's a proper thing going into a filter. So it sounds really
That's
juicy.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's I think this is a kind of a way of working that while it was sort of forced upon us in lockdown, is something that I just want to get better at it, and that's kind of really been the ambition with this little project is to kind of just push the production levels up a bit.
Mm,
Chris Sharkey's wonderful to work with, so we're going to keep working together. And yeah, it's been a fun one because I mean I've not been gigging that much. I've been so busy with work that it's been really tricky. I mean there was a point a few years ago when I was literally like in 3 bands and doing 2 or 3 gigs a week and doing Jazzwise, and at some point you have to sort of something's got to give basically.
yeah. And
Um,
you have a
but it's
family as well. We should say,
I've got
it's
a couple
not.
of kids, yeah, a couple of lovely boys. One's
Yeah.
10, one's 14, so they actually want me around more than when I was, when they were little, sort of thing.
Mm,
So and that's all good. And actually, lockdown was quite good for that, for the family thing, for actually sort of like really connecting with your
Mm,
nearest and dearest, and far from driving each other mad. I think we're all good pals now, which is wonderful,
awesome.
So yeah, but I just try and keep the music stuff going because I just love it, and I'm always wanting to create and record and whatever,
Yeah, man.
it's all it is.
Hey, let's talk a little bit. Maybe we can do, because we don't have too much time actually.
No, no, no.
Let's do a little bit, like a minute on each of these. Tell us what State of Grace is.
Okay, so State of Grace was a really wonderful EP I did with the brilliant Aisling Iris, a wonderful singer who I met a few years ago. And this was I mean, again, I've always loved sort of
Remove yourself.
vocal led material.
Yeah,
And so this has got Rob Luft on it. It's got Andrew McLean on the drums, who plays with Grace Jones.
yeah,
It's got Sam Crow playing a wonderful solo on a track. All my compositions and Ashling's compositions. So
yeah.
it was a total collaboration. So
Brilliant.
much fun to do. Go and check it out on my on Bandcamp. It's up there,
Great.
and it's a cracking listen.
Is that the best place for people to follow you and keep abreast of all the other things you're doing?
And basically, Instagram is kind of where I'm just like, there's a link tree there. So if you go to the
Cool.
Mike Flynn bass
Yeah,
thing, you can find all these links. You can find the links to the tracks.
yeah.
Like I say, Unfurl is coming out in sort of first week of June, and then you can go to the Bandcamp and pre-order it now if you
Yeah,
want.
yeah. Wicked.
It's all good.
Okay, this one, Different Orbits. Legends, I
Oh,
recognize all of
these,
these chaps.
all of them are legends.
Yeah,
Yeah, so left to right, we've got Clement Roger, Gab Bourdonnais, some bloke in the middle,
yeah.
John Newey, Andy Davis, and Matt Telfer. All
Yeah.
all absolutely wonderful guys, wonderful players, and we did this band for about 7 years. Kind of did a little gig last year, I think, and then really, I mean, since COVID, I mean, a seven-piece band at the best of times is tough. And we did some awesome gigs. I mean, we
Mm.
played Love Supreme to 2,000 people. We did Canary Wharf Jazz Festival to 2,000 people. We did stacks of Pizza Express Jazz Club, Ronnie's, 606, Hideaway. God bless Hideaway. We
Yeah.
miss you.
Oh man. So
And
is the band still going? Like, might it, or is it
we're
dormant? Kind of.
I'm saying it's dormant. I'm never saying never.
Yeah.
We may get back together at some point, but like I say, we're kind of a little bit all over the place. So it's a tough one because it falls to me to kind of book the gigs and
Oh, I hate
get
doing
get
that.
one
At
to
least everyone
rehearsal.
knows who you are, man. At least everyone knows who you are. For
Hey.
the Jazzwise Flex, you're like, if you give me a gig, I will.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell us a little bit about this one.
Okay, this is something that I've literally just recorded.
Oh, cool.
Unlike the Unfurl, with Unfurl is that he's going to be the Unfurl EP, so that's the name
Yeah.
of that project. But I literally I got one of these new pedals. I got a newfangled pedal. I got the hologram microcosm, beautiful
Whoa.
pedal,
I'm looking at mine
and
right now over there.
exactly, it's a beautiful thing, right?
Unbelievable. Yeah.
It's amazing, but and you can go pretty wild with it. But it's just to explain, it's a beautiful little. Where's mine? Is under here somewhere in its box actually. I'll show everybody this lovely pedal. It won't take more than a minute.
Yeah. You play
And
one note into it, and it
oh
sounds
yeah,
unbelievable.
sounds gorgeous. This guy here. So basically, this is the hologram. I obviously was seeing a lot of people using this thing online. I'm like, oh my god, this is the thing I've been looking for.
Yeah.
Anyway, and long story short, I just started doing these little solo. I've played fretless bass for years. I've had a fretless for 15 years, and it's a handmade thing by a guy in Brighton. It's beautiful, and I just thought I want to strip it right back. No beats, nothing, just me and the microcosm and one other pedal for some
Oh,
reverb. And
wicked.
and so
So
basically,
that's what
this
the
is
album
like
is.
and this is what it is. It's 5 tracks of just super chilled out, me solo looping on the fretless. And I mean the mad thing was I started to post these things on Instagram and it went mental. One of them had 53,000 views and I gained about 3,000 followers in about 6 weeks. It was all organic. I didn't pay for a penny for any of that. It was just like people just responded to it like you wouldn't believe. So and it's almost like me just kind of just being myself. I'm not trying to shred. I'm not trying to do anything. It's just all about a vibe, something very mellow, something to just put on and kind of relax to, and it's nice.
that obviously resonated with people. So I
Big
just
time,
realized I was
yeah.
muted there. That'll be why, man. People could tell you were being like doing something quite honest and sincere, I guess, and that connected with them.
Totally.
So
And
wicked.
the great thing was, it's just like we're so used to going online and just seeing people just throwing everything they've got
Yeah.
at a solo or at
Every
some
chop.
technique, every chop. And then this was the complete opposite, and it was just so nice. It was almost like letting go of everything that
Mm,
you were always going to think, oh God, I've got to play even better today. And actually, it's sometimes that you could just sit down and play some beautiful chords, and like the response was unbelievable.
great.
So that'll be coming out at some point quite soon, hopefully. It's
Cool.
again, I've recorded it all. Chris Sharkey's mastered it, and we just kind of need to tie up the loose ends and get the thing out there.
Awesome. So, folks, I actually had about three or four more covers of stuff that Mike has produced and played on, but we don't have like, all night.
Hours.
So, yeah, we had to be a little bit spread. But let's, Mike, for a little bit, let's talk
Yes,
about Jazzwise. So,
of
there are
course.
probably some people who they are aware of Jazzwise, but they don't,
Yeah.
they think, oh, one day I'd like to be in it, and they probably don't know how to achieve that. But also, I have no idea what happens like to actually produce like a physical magazine. I know that you do
Okay.
something,
Yeah.
but I don't really know what that is or what all the other people do. So
Well,
can you give
the
us
mad,
a,
of
yeah.
course, yeah. So the mad thing is, every single month when that magazine basically goes to the printers,
Mhm.
we start from nothing. It's incredibly scary. So basically, I mean, it's like literally recording an entire set of music and then just
Mm,
going, right, we're done with that. We're never we're never going to use that again. We're
mm,
going to create something from scratch.
mm,
Um, so basically, it's all digital. Okay, we work in the computer.
mm,
It's all kind of like we send our the reviewers the CDs or the links to the albums. They review them. I
mm.
commission the features, and I basically liaise with the writer and the label, or directly with the artist sometimes. And of course, I always need a good photo, whatever that might
Yeah.
be, whatever that representation is. I need a printable photo, which means it has to be good quality. And then really, then it's a case of just we have a sort of like a production phase of 2 weeks where we bring all that stuff together. We edit it, we sub it, we then give it to our designer. I brief that. Her name's Juliet. She's a really, really talented designer, and she basically follows my brief in terms of the features, and then other things like the news section or the reviews, a little bit more standardized, sort of on a grid. It's kind of looks similar every month, and then we create these things called PDFs, portable digital files, and that's a kind of like a document that's almost like locked. It's a flat, it's not the InDesign file. It's not the thing where you can knock someone's your name and misspell your name. It's kind of
It's
locked,
fixed. Yeah.
and law. We would never do that, right? So it might happen.
Or
So
Nat.
anyway, but
Nat law or something.
something, yeah. And then basically we check it, we correct it, we finalize the PDFs, and then we upload them to a virtual server online. Our printer is in Wales. They're called Pensword. They're a really big printer, and that's it. And
That's
so
that's amazing. That was quite a
crazy.
concise version of it as well. I feel like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
understand now. That's cool.
Yeah. So it's this big process. And so when I say to someone, we need your album 2 months ahead of publication, it's because that that review has to go through a process, an editorial process.
Mm,
And while the internet, I mean, obviously there's loads of great websites out there and things like that. I mean, to do this, the internet might be fast to publish, but to create the content still takes more or less the same time. The writer has to sit and write it and correct it and hone it down to something. Word count is not so important online. You can have long thousands of words on a blog or something.
mm,
But then it's like having restrictions as a musician. You say, well, you've got 8 bars to do a solo,
mm.
so you think, okay, that's pretty tough. That's a lot harder than having 20 bars or 60 bars.
Yeah.
So 8 bars. That's all you've got to do. So it's almost like that's the writer. They're like, only got 150 words. Wow, what am I going to say in those 150 words? So it's a very involved process, and it's a sort of it's completely separate to all the music stuff, but playing and being involved in bands and projects and production and things, really does give me an insight into it all, and it's kind of, I definitely think the two overlap a lot, and I think it's beneficial, and hopefully it gives the magazine, a lot more depth than some other things. A lot of the writers are professional musicians, or they have been professional musicians. They might not be out gigging all the time, but they've studied, they've done albums, they've done tours, they've done all these things. So yeah, I mean, it's a real privilege to be the custodian of such a a wonderful thing, and we've come out the pandemic pretty well, and people are buying it. We're still making money. I mean,
Great.
jobs are good.
Yeah. Well done, man. Keep up the good work.
Just to say very briefly, if people want to get in the mag, then
Yes.
obviously there are obviously people hire PRs. That's an obvious kind of way to approach us. And if they're a known PR that we deal with, then obviously we'll listen to the music that they send us and things like that. Other times it might be a lot more casual. I might meet you at the Vortex at a gig. We might be having a beer or something, and you might say, I've got this new album. Could I send it to you? And I would say, of course. It doesn't guarantee anything, but it's fine if we meet and you say, I've got this thing, can I send it to you? Will you have a listen? Then, of course I will. I mean, the problem is we're just being inundated at the moment with new music. It really is unbelievable. I've literally listened to about 10 albums today.
Wow.
Not end to end, but I've listened to chunks of them and gone, okay, yeah, that's good. Okay, yeah, maybe not, but and it's anyway, it's a tough one. So much respect to anybody who's putting themselves out there and doing it. It's it's a tough time right now, but if it makes you happy and you feel passionate about it, then why not? So
yeah, I think we all have to be a little bit, particularly with the jazz thing, which it's not necessarily the most mainstream thing. We all have to be a little bit mad or driven with something within us that's there, which isn't really connected with any sort of feedback from the outside world.
Exactly. It's just
we've all just got
this,
some.
This thing has to exist, so I'm going to do it.
Exactly. That's what it is.
It needs to be in the world. I need to make it. End of story.
Exactly, Felipe. A little nuts. Exactly, man.
Little bit crazy.
And hey, Felipe, man. Hope you're doing well, man. Nice to read 3 words that you just typed. Even nicer to see you at some point. All right, folks. Let's let Mike Flynn go. And actually, Felipe's just updated that. He says maybe quite a bit nuts. I think that's a little bit more accurate.
More nuanced.
Yeah. I'm gonna send you out with maybe this is something we could talk about, Mike. On a podcast, I was talking about a guitar player who, and it's not really a jazz guitar player, and they're ultra famous, ultra successful, completely loaded in every measure of success. They're completely loaded. But for some reason, I was on a guitar nerd kind of podcast, and I sort of said something a little bit negative about it, which I sort of stand by, honestly. Like, it wasn't really mean. I was just so I felt, but I actually like the music by this. I just think he's a bit of a poser.
Sure.
So I felt bad about saying that on the podcast. So I decided that the only way to tip the balance back was to do a cover of a song by this artist. So that's what people are going to hear. And maybe I won't tell people what it is. And honestly, I don't know if most of you know that with all the videos that I broadcast on the Quarantine Zone, I don't know how to edit videos. I tried, I did a couple, but they weren't very good. So I've got other people to do it. This video, there's quite a lot going on visually. So if it becomes unbearable, please just stop looking and listen, because the audio sounds good. Mike, you're going to see what I mean, man. I don't know. The guy was just putting so much in. I can't remember who it was either, and I don't. So, yeah. But
brilliant.
I hope you like this tune by a mystery guitar player. Thanks very much, Mike Flynn. Follow Mike Flynn on Instagram, Strava. Read Jazzwise. Support Jazzwise. Jazzwise is great. Mike, all the best. See you soon.
Man, and I'll see you soon, man.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Mate.
Bye, everyone.
See you soon. Bye.